Yeah, Pump It Up.
We decided to call it Pump It Up, because not only is Pump on the record, but it came with that sample.
Mm.
Remember the song, "Pump Up the Jam, Pump
Mhm.
It Up while the beat is pumping," came with that sample on the beat. But of course, you know that it's hard to clear certain samples,
Mhm.
and that was a hell of a record. That was a fucking huge record. I just mean politics in itself sometimes takes so long,
Yeah.
and we didn't wanna go through that, so I decided to do the pump up the jam, pump it up myself, and then Pump went behind it and did his pump thing, and so we was like, "There's a lot of energy going on in the song. Let's just call it Pump It Up."
Hey, it's Bobby's Hip Hop and R&B 103.5 The Beat, popping key to people's voice in the building. Legendary Tony Sunshine,
Baby!
Terror Squad.
Baby!
Oh my gosh, good to see you, brother.
Good to see you too,
Well, I
brother.
did see you the other day.
Right.
Joey had a performance on South Beach, and you ripped it for
Absolutely.
the food and wine. And I
Absolutely.
seen you
We had
there.
a beautiful time
Yeah,
too.
yeah, you jumped
Yeah.
on the stage, did your thing, as
Absolutely.
always. You know what I mean? Hey, listen, let people know that, like kind of the history with you and Terror Squad over the years.
Well, Joe and I come from the same neighborhood. I met Joe when I was 13. So,
Wow.
you pretty much know the history from there. You know what I mean? It's been a long time.
Yeah, it has.
Been in the business a pretty long time. At first you gotta soak in the game and you gotta learn the ropes and you gotta play your position and wait your turn and that's pretty much how it goes, but that's the history.
Well, listen, you've always been, team player. I mean, you've given us hit songs prior.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? This is nothing new for you. So before we get into, the new song you have out right now with Lil Pump, I
Right.
really want people to know who Tony Sunshine is.
Mhm.
Aside from Terror Squad, aside from your relationship from Fat Joe,
Mhm.
like let's take it back a little bit. Like, so you talked about you grew up in the area with Fat Joe. Let everybody know what that area is. I'm assuming it's the Bronx. Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
The Bronx is the South Bronx, East 166 and Simpson Ave, and basically, we project babies. We
Got
from the
you.
projects.
And how did the music find you? What was that point where you were like, yo, I could sing, like I got this?
Well, I started singing, well, according to my mother. According to my mother, God bless her dad, because, at that time when you 5 years old, you pretty much, just running around and being a kid. But
Yeah.
she said that she discovered I knew how to sing when I was 5. And I do
Wow.
remember certain things, and I do remember the moment I fell in love with music. But
Mm.
she said I was 5 years old and she heard me singing in the kitchen. And she ran to the kitchen and was like, "Yo, do it again." And I did it
Mm.
again. And, she pretty much said, "Yo, you're gifted."
Right,
You
right,
know?
right, right.
And
Right.
so I started singing Spanish music because we went to my grandmother was a wild child, and so
Mm.
she went out from Thursday to Sunday. And when I say she went out, she went out.
Right,
She
right,
she was one of
right.
those club hopping, jiggy old ladies.
Right.
And one of the spots she went to was an underground social club where a lot of percussionists and instrument players went that played with big groups in
Like
the
a
Latin.
SOBs in New York or a Nels.
No, not really like a SOBs. It was more family orientated, and my
Oh, okay,
grandmother
okay.
grew up with the owner of the bar or whatever, but it was underground. And it just so happens that a lot of instrument players that played with big Latin groups such as Gran
Mm.
Combo and played for Eddie Santiago and Celia Cruz and Rafi Sabatel and all these people, the bongos, the timbales, the cuatro, and things of that nature. So my mother was one of those people that didn't leave her kids with nobody, and
Mm.
she would take me along. So they had a jukebox there. They had a jukebox in there. And so little did I know that before I knew I was performing, I was already performing because I gravitated towards music. I would stand in front of the jukebox and sing along with whatever songs was coming out the jukebox.
Mm.
And there was a guy in there by the name of Rafi Sabatel who stepped to my mother and was like, "Yo, this kid is like super gifted. Do you mind if I invite you to a festival that's going on in Spanish Harlem and, we threw him on the stage to sing, and of course, my mother accepted, and so I went to Spanish Harlem, that one year, I think I was, like, 6 going on 7, and, they called me on stage to sing, and I started singing a cappella this song by Iman Miranda that's called Dandaive, and the band started playing behind me, and I sang along with the music, and the crowd went crazy, and so that went on. The following year, they invited me again, and I got to sing with Celia Cruz, and the following year, I got to sing
Wow.
with Tito Puente, and the following year. So that went on for 2 or 3 years, but then, growing up in the Bronx, growing up in New York City in the
Mm,
'80s, early '80s was crucial. The buildings was burning down and the crack epidemic was
yeah.
hitting and the heroin epidemic, and it was so much going on that, I'm fortunate enough that my mother wasn't an addict, but we was dealing with all the adversities
Mhm.
that was going on surrounding us, and I was dealing with a with an abusive stepdad at home,
Right.
whatever. So we had to enter a shelter system. And we didn't know that we was gonna end up in that shelter system for a numerous amount of years until they found us a place to live. And so, by the time they found us a place to live, I was like 11 going on 12. And that place they found us to live was Forest Projects.
Wow.
So I landed in Forest Projects as a young kid, and landing in the projects, I started to hear new sounds. I started to hear Master Ace, and I started to hear Brand Nubian. I started to hear,
Mhm.
Brand Puba and Diamond D and DITC, and a whole new sound of hip hop. Was I was gravitating towards too, and
Yeah.
then Mary J, and then Jodeci, and then hip hop and R&B, and then um looking out the window, I would look out the window and see a crew of guys, and I would see this heavy set, chubby guy come around and this, that, and he was already popular among the people, and he looked like a get money dude, and whatever. And I would gravitate towards that, looking out the window like I wanted to understand because he was a Spanish dude just like me, moving around, but he was like popping. So I would ask my mom if I could go outside, and she would tell me no. I couldn't
Mm.
go outside. My mom was one of those real overprotective ladies or whatever, so I would have to sneak out. One day I sneak out, I meet some of the guys outside, we start talking or whatever. I'm young. These are older cats, but
Mhm.
they take a liking to me for whatever reason, and they some of the original members of the Terror Squad. I start asking them about the heavy set guy or whatever, and they tell me who he is. Long story short, sooner or later I asked them, yo, how can I step to this guy? How can I talk to? How can
Mhm.
I? And they tell me, you gotta grab
Cojones?
your cojones, right? And you gotta go over there and talk to him. So I
Yeah.
did just that. So, and he was already on songs with Diamond D, and
Mhm.
he was already becoming um popular in the music scene. He
Was Let It
just
Flow Out?
Flojo wasn't
Flojo?
out yet.
Mhm.
Flojo wasn't out yet.
Sure.
And anyway, I went over to him and I was like, yo, I sing, and he was like, yeah, I sing something.
That sounds
You
like
gotta
him.
remember, I'm a 13-year
Right.
old. I'm a 13-year-old wet behind the ear kid, fresh out the shelter system. You know what I'm saying? I got holes in my sneakers and a big dirty T-shirt on, and no haircut,
Right, right.
and so he's like, "I sing something," and so I sang "Forever My Lady" by Jodeci, and he was blown away.
Mm.
And he was like, "Yo, really could sing," and he was like, "You dope," and "Yo, shorty, one of these days, Imma come by the block, snatch you up, and I'll take you with me," and whatever have you. And then, one of these days turned into the very next day he pulled up with God Bless the Dead Full Flex, and they snatched me up. And I rode with him to Relativity Records. I went with him to Video Music Box, and the numerous amount of things. He took me to go see High Five or whatever have you, and the rest is history. Of course, my mother was still overprotective, and she was really finicky about what was gonna happen with me because I was a wild kid, like I said, fresh out the shelter system. And because of the things that I was going through at home, I was rebelling in school, and I wasn't good in school. And
Mm.
the only thing that I did good in school was like the glee club and music
Right.
class and things like that. That was my getaway. But other than
Mhm.
that, so my mother wasn't too sure about just letting me go run around at the age of 13 with a bunch of older guys and gangster rappers, as she called it, and all
Yeah.
that. So, she held it back for a while, so I had to wait my turn.
Got you.
During the process, Pun comes along. I meet Pun when I'm 16. That's,
Yeah,
that's
everything
pretty
flows
much
from there.
everything comes together from there.
So, what was it like doing that song with Pun?
Which one?
My bad. You did.
Which one?
My bad.
Where them
I,
cups, baby?
I
Where them
know, right?
cups?
I know it's on the way. 100, right?
100%.
Right, 100%.
Okay, 100%.
That's a classic.
100% is a hip hop / Latino classic. 100% was actually not a joke to us. It wasn't a joke to us. It was something that we would laugh about and joke and play with the beat, with the instrumental,
Mm.
right? So Sean C, who was head A&R over at Loud Records, gave Pun, and he was part of the X-Men and all that, and he was a producer as well. Excellent producer, I might add. So he gave Pun a tape, the TD tape. Remember the
Of
TDK?
course,
This before
TDK, yeah.
this before there was CDs and all that. So
Uh-huh.
he gave him a TDK tape with a bunch of beats on it, and one of the beats that was on the TDK tape was the 100% instrumental,
Wow,
right?
okay.
And so, Pun used to use the tape to write. Pun would write every day, and I would write or whatever, and we would hum and ooh and ah, whatever, and play around with the beats. And when that particular beat would come on, I would sing my rendition of Hector La Voz Pronto Llegará, but joking and playing, and Pun would die laughing.
Right.
We knew it was something we want because Pun had a comedic side to him,
Uh-huh.
and he wanted to add that to his music. So we would joke and play about it every now and then, and we knew that it was something we wanted to do one day, but it had never been done before, and there was a 50-50 chance that it might not work.
Wow.
Thank you, beloved. And so Pun decides to do something about his weight, and Steve Rifkin and Joe get him to go to North Carolina. We go to the no pun, no funny, no
Right.
funny. We go to a place called the Fat Farm. It's like a fat farm. It's where all the football players go to get in shape.
Right.
And Pun is in there. He's in the pool every day, and he's eating what the doctors are giving him, and he's eating portions, and he's losing weight, and he's hitting weights, and he's doing good. So he decided to start recording his second album at the same time. So, I was lucky and fortunate that he chose me to go with him to North Carolina because it could have been anybody. So I was part of that process, and it was an amazing journey to watch him want to live and lose weight
Yeah.
and enjoy himself while doing it. He took it so serious. So we in the studio. So he decides to start recording his second album. And we're in the studio, and it's just one of those days where he's tired and he wants to go back to the hotel and get some rest or whatever. And so it was just in my heart and on my mind the whole time or whatever, the beat, the instrumental and the
Yeah.
song and the idea and the vision of it. So I told him, yo, instead of shutting the studio session down, why don't you go get some rest, go chill, and allow me to lay this hook on the beat.
Mm.
And he was, he gave me a look like but with a smile, but it
Yeah.
was kind of like, oh, can play about that.
Right.
But you know what? Go ahead. Cool. So I fall back in the studio and he goes get his rest. And I spend an hour or two still in the studio in the booth. I lay the hook. He comes back the next day and tells the engineer, yo, let me hear what the kid did, because he used to call me the kid. Let me hear what the kid did. And he loved it. He started writing right there.
Wow.
You know?
Wow.
He started writing, he started writing his verse right there, writes his first verse, falls asleep, wakes up, says he's tired. He wants to go back to the hotel to get some rest. He's not feeling too good. And so again, I tell him, yo, he just playing the Puerto Rican anthem to it. And again, he gives me the look like the Puerto Rican anthem. And I was like, yeah, just let me, you know what I'm saying? Let me mess around. Let me, and can I curse? Because I'm
Of
holding back
course.
so
Yeah,
much.
don't hold
You know
back.
what I'm saying? I'm holding
Live.
back so much. Like,
Live.
so, you know, I tell him, let me fuck with it.
Right.
Let me get, and he's like, you know what? All right, go ahead. So I go in the booth and I lay the Puerto Rican anthem, and he comes back the next day and says, let me hear what the kid did. And again, he was like, this is gonna be crazy. He starts writing again, from San Juan to Bayamon. I'm the Don Juan beside the dawn. Live long, get your party on. Don't let the liquor fool you, cause I stick it to you. Some sharp to heart, some big to move you. The desert or the shoddy, whatever you the body that chose, and the rest is history. You know, and then he passes away during the process. So I never dreamed that Joe and Steve Rifkin was gonna press the button on this particular song, but they did. They saw the vision, they believed, especially Joe, he believed. And we went to Puerto Rico, we shot the video, Big Look, song took a life of its own, and the rest is history.
Wow. Tony Sunshine, man. Thank you for sharing that, man.
My brother,
Yeah, that's a legendary story
my
right there.
brother, my brother.
You know what I mean? 100%.
100, 100%.
All right, before that term became a thing like that. You know what I'm saying? 100%.
100%, papi.
Yes, sir. Hey, Tony, man, I could talk to you forever, but I know you've got a big record that you launching right now with Little Pump, man, and I really want you to talk about this record and what
Pump it
it's.
up.
Yeah, pump it up.
We decided to call it Pump It Up. Because not only is Pump on the record, but it came with that sample. I'm gonna tell you the story about it. So remember the song "Pump Up the Jam, Pump It Up" while the beat is pumping. So it came with that sample on the beat. But of course, you know that it's hard to clear certain samples, and that was a hell of a record. That was a fucking huge record at the time.
Smash.
You know, so instead of going through the politics and the bullshit, and who's to say bullshit, but I just mean politics in itself sometimes takes so long,
Yeah.
and we didn't want to go through that, so I decided to do the pump up the jam, pump it up myself, you know, and then Pump went behind it and did his pump thing, and so we was like, you know what? There's a lot of energy going on in the song, period. Let's just call it Pump It Up. And it's just one of those records you could put on in the gym and put it on repeat and just get busy. And the strippers is gonna love it in the strip clubs. And at the same time, it's gangster at the same time. So there's a lot of energy. You got the gym flow in it, and then you know we got the hood.
Yeah. You know what's so crazy? I would have never, when I saw this, when I first heard about this song, I would have never imagined y'all teaming up. I'm gonna be real.
So here's how I go. We both go to the same gym. My trainer is Pump's trainer. And shout
Irony.
out to Ellie. Shout out to Ellie, good guy. He owns Rule Fitness. And Ellie dibbles and dabbles in production here and there, and he got a good ear for music. And he comes to me one day, he tells me he got this beat. And he loves the beat, and he plays the beat for me. And I was like, all right, cool. What you want me to do with it? He was like, I don't know. See what you could do with the beat. So I said, all right. So we go to the studio, and I lay the hook and a verse, give it to him. He turns around and gives the same beat to Pump. Pump goes to the studio, lays his verse. Ellie comes back and gives me Pump's verse and tells me, what do you think of this verse? Said, let me take it to the studio, put it all together, and see what happens. So I took it to the studio. I put Pump's verse with my verse and my hook, whatever, and, you know, we formatted the situation. And it sound good. It sound
Yeah.
like two different, you know, his era, my era, two different worlds, because he's a rock star, I'm a gangster, and, you know, I'm an R&B singer,
Right,
but,
right,
you
right.
know, I'm a different kind of R&B singer, and I don't mean gangsta as in, like,
Nah,
I'm the roughest,
yeah.
toughest, because, you know, I mean, the element of hip-hop, R&B and hip-hop
Excuse
I
me,
come from.
sir. Terror Squad says it all, okay? Terror Squad
I
says it
just don't,
all.
you know.
Anybody who's been listen, South Beach in the 90s and 2000s, all right, knows Terror Squad, okay?
I just be
Alright.
trying to.
Between Terror
I
Squad and
just be
Busta
trying.
Rhymes and his crew.
I just be trying to be. I just be trying to get away from that stigma, cause that shit be following me.
Right.
Like,
nah, it's
it be
good.
like
It's
Tony
different
Sunshine.
times.
It'd be like Tony Sunshine. I heard that name before. I'm like,
It's different times,
all
man.
right, so different times. So yeah, man, and it sound good. It felt good. A lot of energy. Pump is a good dude. You know, we bump heads in the gym every now and then. When I say bump heads, don't mean like we got a problem. I mean like we see each other. We start talk. We talk for a few minutes. So his energy is always good. He's a well reserved dude, very humble, down to earth.
Nice.
And he's a rock star. You know, he's a talented kid, and a lot of people yet to see the talent that he got to offer. So
for sure,
you know,
man.
you got to see a different Pump this time around than what you usually hear him sound like, and it was dope.
All right.
So,
well, the joint is out now.
Join us out right now. Apple Music, Spotify, iTunes, Vivo, YouTube, your favorite streaming platforms, iHeartRadio now.
Yep.
Papa Keith,
DJ Entice.
DJ Entice.
Yep.
DJ Entice, what's up, baby? What you mean? It's the beard. This nigga hiding under the beard or something. I'm like, yo, hold up. I kept looking at him like, yo. With the corner of my eye, I was like.
He hit you with the Jesus beard,
huh? For real.
Shout out to my brother. So we're going to get the joint on there for you. But before we close again, I just want to make sure I give you your gold roses, man. Thank you so much for your contributions, brother, over the years.
Thank you so much.
I mean, man. Just not only just for what you do for, Puerto Ricans around the world.
Latinos,
period. You're right. Hip hop.
Latinos, blacks, whoever. You know what I mean? Like, we for the people.
Yeah.
Not just, the vision for the song was pretty much just combining our culture with the culture, period, and saying, we for the people, and we love hip hop, and we love the game, and we could. This is for all of us.
Yeah, well, mission accomplished.
So.
Last question. I forgot to ask this one. How did you get the name Tony Sunshine? I mean, I got to know that. We in the Sunshine State. You know what I'm saying? How'd you get the name? Who named you? How'd you get it?
So one of the guys one of the first guys I ever met when I got to the projects was a guy named Gizmo. He's one of the original members of Terror Squad from when they were kids, growing up in the projects, graffiti, breakdancing, playing football. Because Terror Squad was always a bunch of kids from the projects that got together and was a family and would play football and started doing graffiti and breakdancing and things of that nature. And then eventually it turned into, the music thing. So one of the first people I met was the late, great Giz. And he caught me singing one time in the 8th floor, banging on the elevator, singing, and he was like, "What the fuck?" He said, "Little nigga could sing. What the fuck?" He, and then he took me under the wing, and I used to run around with him, and he called me R&B. He said, "Your nickname is R&B," and the acronym was Rough Brother, because he said I was a rough little nigga now, but I could sing. So R&B, because I was an R&B singer, but I was a rough brother. Later on, running around with Pun and all that, he's already double platinum, and he's a superstar. And he got a vision for what he wants to do and how he wants to break me into the market and the music industry. He believes in my talent, but he was like, "We only got one problem. We can't just call you R&B." You know what I mean? Like, we can't break you into the R&B market calling you R&B. We got to think of a name. And so he came up with a bunch of funny names, and I wasn't interested. I was like, hell no. And so he came to me. He was like, "I got it. Tony Sunshine." And I hated the Sunshine part. I was like, come on.
Right.
Sunshine.
Tony Rainbow, Sunshine.
So it just so happened that day, and I was at his crib, and
Mhm.
so it just so happened that that same day, Source Magazine was coming to interview him, and it was at a time where they would come with the little recorders and
Mhm.
write it down, and they would interview you before they actually did the
Yeah.
spread and take the pictures and all that. And so they asked him, you know, if he had anything new up and coming or anything in the works, and he was like, "Well, yeah, you probably heard of him, my little brother Tony Sunshine."
That was it.
Nobody ever heard of me, by the way. He was just being an asshole, and he looks at me too with the funny face, like, and that was that. And
Wow.
shout out to my little brother Tito Grams, who was
Yeah.
actually Tito Sunshine. And later on, I
Mm.
find out that he passes Pun a CD with his music, and it says Tito Sunshine. And so that's where Pun got Tony Sunshine from. And so, me and Tito talked on the side when we were younger, and
Yeah.
it was almost a situation, but we cleared it up and we was
Right.
able to move on from it. And he
Wow.
gave me the blessings, and love is love. But Tony Sunshine came from Pun, who got it from Tito, and that's how that came.
Ladies and gentlemen, legendary Tony Sunshine in the building. Please check out the new single
You
with
ain't
Lil
drinking with
Pump.
me?
I'm gonna drink with you as soon as this is over right here.
My dog.
I gotta call you back in, man. We gotta do like a podcast
Baby.
because there's so much
I
more I can
love that.
tap into, you
Oh,
know?
there's so much more to tell, man.
Yeah, yeah.
There's so much more of Tony Sunshine to give, and
Yes.
just so many beautiful stories to tell. That let's do it. I
All
can't
right.
wait.
Go Roses, brother.
My brother,
Love.
appreciate
Yes,
you.
sir.
Papa
Tony
Cave
Sunshine.
and my dog.